Hey guys, I just wanted to make a real quick video just because I've been on a Vostok watch modding spree. And I know more and more people, from what I can understand and what I'm seeing around the internet, are starting to kind of catch on to Vostok watches, Russian made watches, and starting to get more into collecting them and modifying them, or interested in modifying them. And I've modified a handful now. And with just a basic watchmaker's kit that you can order off Amazon for under $20 and some YouTube knowledge, you can get into these watches, do some mods at home, and make them pretty unique and very specific to what you want style wise, as far as bands, dials, bezels, hands even. So I'm just going to show you kind of an example of a few modded Vostoks that I've done. And these are just going to kind of encompass the Komodersky and the Amphibias. And they're not going to, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to basically show kind of what I would call like a mod 1, mod 2, mod 3, referring to the levels of modification that you can go to. And of course, you can get as crazy as you want with some of these Vostoks. It's just a matter of where you go hunting on the internet, as far as if you're sourcing parts from Russia or Europe or even here in the US. There are people that do make, for instance, dials. There's people that make dials custom that, if you can get a hold of them, you can be very unique and be, one of two or one of three dials in existence. So just for instance, what I'm wearing today, this is a brand new, fully stock. This is a Vostok. This is actually an Vostok Amphibia Neptune with the, what you would call a Coke dot or a bezel on it. Let me get it under light there. There we go. So this is a fully stock watch. I have not touched this yet. I haven't done anything with it other than take it out of the box and wear it. Let's see if I can get that to zoom. For focus, I should say. Let me touch the screen. There we go. There we go. So this is a GMT diver, which is a little weird, but it functions perfectly. This has actually been very accurate as far as timing goes. I haven't had to adjust the timing. And I'm not going to go into how you do that. Those videos are available on YouTube. It is a very simple process to time these watches, either speed them up or slow them down. But it does come with this very nice aluminum bezel, and the crown on this actually is a little bit of an upgrade over normal Amphibias. It actually has the Vostok V engraved into the crown, and the grooves on the crown are a little bit more pronounced, a little bit sharper, easier to grasp. So it's a nice watch, and of course the only thing on this particular watch that's not very great is the bracelet. And but that's something that if you hunt around a little bit, that's something that you could easily rectify. But anyway, so this would encompass what I would say is a bone stock watch. I have not touched it. I haven't changed anything on it, and I don't intend to in the short term. Now, what I would say encompasses, say, a mod 1, something that is very, very basic as far as modifications go, would be something like this. This is a brand new, I believe the case on this is I want to say it's a 110 case. And that just refers to the style of the case itself. And I believe it's a 110. Let me fix the focus there. There we go. So the only thing I've changed on this watch is I had a spare bezel laying around. I've got two other Vostoks that I'm currently doing a total rebuild mod on. So they're going to be very, very, very original things that I've torn apart down to just the movements, and I'm going to build them back up into something that is completely unique. So I've got two of those I'm working on. So in the meantime, I have this spare bezel. This bezel is actually going to go back on one of those watches, and I've got something else planned for this watch. So this is something that the only thing I've done, like I said, is it's wearing a bezel that is borrowed. And then I've changed out the strap. This is a Barton watch band. This is their sailcloth strap. So as you can see, it's kind of a canvas type material. And this watch is eventually going to end up being kind of a maritime, sailor style watch, something very, aqua themed, boating themed, something like that. So the hands will eventually get swapped out to something more nautical. And I'll probably leave the case back alone. And it's just a solid case back. There's nothing really all that special there. But the bezel on this watch will get swapped. The crown will get swapped. And then the hands themselves will get swapped out to something else. But as this is, if I just left this alone, this is what I'd be considering like a mod 1. Very basic. You could swap the straps yourself. That takes all but 30 seconds to swap the straps. A bezel that can be popped off with just a little flathead screwdriver if you put a little bit of Scotch tape on the case just to prevent it from being scratched up or nicked. But this is very basic, very easy. Anybody could do something like this. Very, very, very basic. So something that would be like a mod 2 would be something like this Komanderski. This is my 24-hour Komanderski. Now, again, it is wearing a Barton watch bands. This is a khaki canvas strap. This look is supposed to be a little bit more military in style. The bezel on it has been swapped out. It came with just a basic steel bezel. But with this, I wanted a black bezel. So this is a black bezel with a ceramic insert. The hands are stock. I might change something with the hands. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with those yet. And then as far as getting it just a step further, the case back has been swapped to a display back. So that's something that is not complicated. You just need the tools to do the job. But the workings of the watch I haven't touched. It's basically all stock on the inside. The dial, the hands are stock. All I've really swapped out on this is the strap, the bezel, and of course the case back. And the only reason I would say this would be like a mod 2 is because now once you remove the case back, you're exposing the inner workings of the movement to the environment. So that just takes the level of kind of keeping your area clean and making sure you put things back together properly. Make sure the gasket under here is gets a good seal so you maintain the waterproof nature of the watch, things like that. You could take it a step further once you do have the case back. There's a little indentation tab that you need a little tiny tool to press. And if you do, you can remove the crown and swap out your crowns to something nicer, more decorative, whatever you want to do. But this is something I would call like a mod 2. Just another step further, but still fairly basic. And then it comes to something like a mod 3. Now this is a Vostok 710 case. This started off as a stainless steel strap, basic Vostok Amphibia cheap strap, or bracelet I should say. It came with a bracelet. And it had a basic blue dial. And this watch, the dial has been swapped to this black dial. Hold on, let me touch that. There we go. I want to get a good focus on this. The hands have been swapped. So it's wearing something, these are called, if I remember correctly, I believe these are called sword hands. And then it is wearing the second hand that has the trident on the end of it in orange to match the bezel and the strap. The bezel has been swapped to this orange bezel. The crown has been swapped to this stainless steel Vostok crown with a B on it, and then the very pronounced, the teeth on this are very pronounced and easy to grasp, but that's been swapped. The case back has been swapped as well as the strap. So this is what I would say is kind of a mod 3, because this does necessitate you taking the movement out of the case and disassembling small elements of little tiny screws, things like that, to actually get the dial off the movement, as well as the hands, which are very delicate, and you do need some special tools to get in there and remove the hands and replace the hands. to get to the dial. So there's a few added steps, cleanliness, number one, and little special delicate tools to do the job. Again, these are all things that can be had off of Amazon for under 20 bucks in a complete kit. I built this watch to kind of mimic the Omega Planet Ocean dive watches. I'm a big fan of the Omega Planet Ocean line, and since I've spent I've spent a large sum of money on kind of my dream watch, which was a Rolex GMT Master 2. I've kind of been cut off buying any expensive watches for a while. So I've turned my attention to turning my very small Vostok collection into a larger Vostok collection and getting into the hobby of modifying them, which I find to be very pleasurable. And it also kind of scratches that itch every time I want a new watch. Spending $60 or $70 on a Vostok, that's pretty much an amount of money my wife doesn't notice. And then spending another $50 or $60 on little bits and parts to mod it. So in the end, I end up spending, under $150, and I have a very unique watch that's something that I've put together, which is satisfying in another way. It's not just spending money on something and just buying it that way. It's doing it yourself and making something unique, which is fun. But like I said, these are all things that you can go on other YouTube channels, see the how-tos, how to disassemble these movements, take them apart, how to work on things, where all the little parts come off, where they go to reassemble. And you can learn all that fairly easily. I would say if you have a Vostok that you don't mind possibly messing up, a spare movement, something like that, or even if you go on eBay, maybe find a spare movement to practice with, that would be something I would recommend, because I have messed up a couple times and had to find little bits and pieces, little gears to replace ones that I've broken. So a delicate hand for sure, but definitely don't force yourself and don't rush the process, and have the right tools on hand. But usually after a little bit of teething, it all goes pretty smooth. So this, like I said, I've done this watch. The only thing I'd probably swap on this is I might go to a different strap. I like the orange, but I need a little bit longer strap. This one's just a little short. So I'd probably just swap the strap to something longer. But again, so this is what I would consider like a mod 3, because you are getting into the guts of the watch. You are disassembling some of the smaller bits and pieces. Now, there are other steps you can go. You can swap out little screws in the movement to like blue screws, things like that, which is more aesthetic. It's not functional. It just looks pretty. You can change out the balance wheels, things like that. And so there's other little things. But the biggest thing with these watches is, number one, the strap variety versus across several companies is vast. But bezels, I would say bezels are probably the biggest and easiest thing to swap, because it requires very little to swap them. You just need a little flathead screwdriver. You can pop them right off and a new one will pop on in its place. And the styles of bezels, they're vast. The colors, they range, they're all over the place. So you can do whatever you want. Whether it's a 24-hour bezel or a 12-hour, there's all types of bezels out there. So I like, bezels are easy to swap, and, you're going to spend anywhere from 20 to 30 bucks to swap a bezel. But it's well worth it for the look of the watch, especially with some of these Vostoks. The bezels are, they're not that great, looks wise, but, you can spend a little bit of money and get something that's, a lot nicer, better fit, and just frankly looks a lot better. So that's it. So like I said, you can get as crazy as you want or be as mild as you want. So you can go from anything like this, which I ordered this watch when I was in Ukraine a few weeks ago, and it showed up at my door last week. And like I said, I just swapped the bezel and the strap. That was easy. It took nothing more than about 2 minutes to do that. This watch I've had for about a month now, this Commanderski 24-hour dial. And like I said, just swapped out the strap and the case back and the bezel. That doesn't take very much at all. Just like I said, just have a case back tool and easy swap out. And then this guy here, my faux Planet Ocean. This one took me about an hour to disassemble and put back together. And I did that about 2 months ago. And this watch, actually, a lot of people compliment me on just the looks of it. I think it's a really good looking watch. I'm very happy with this. Like I said, I'm a big fan of the Planet Ocean watches. And this was kind of my copy homage to that. But this cost me maybe $150 to mimic. And it's a good watch. I mean, a lot of people complain with Vostoks that they're not accurate, or the other word I hear is they're unreliable. And I believe people are referencing unreliable as far as keeping time. But that's just a matter of going in and regulating the movement and speeding it up or slowing it down, which, since some of these have a display back, I might be able to easily show. Let me see if I can find it. The lighting in this office is not great, so I apologize. Where's it at? Oh, it's right there. Yeah. So you're not going to be able to see this well, and I know that. But right here, there's a little tiny adjustment arm. There's a plus and a minus. And all you have to do is adjust that with just like a very fine screwdriver tip or something like that. And you would just regulate it forwards or backwards. And that would either speed up or slow down time, depending if the watch is running fast or slow. So if you ever hear anyone say, well, they're not, Vostoks, they're not reliable timekeepers, they just need to be regulated. And like I said, that is simply a matter of just taking off the case back and then adjusting that little movement adjuster right there, which takes all of about 30 seconds to do. And then after that, it's just a matter of letting it run for an hour, or not an hour, letting it run for a day or two, and then measuring if it's fast or slow. So that's it. That was just wanted to do a quick video, kind of just talk about things you can do to these watches that make them a lot of fun. It's fun to collect them. I've got some nice watches, and on a daily basis, I'm usually wearing a Vostok of some sort. I've got another one on the way that I just bought, and I've got two that I'm in the process of waiting on parts. This one, I'm waiting on some parts to come from Poland. And I'll mention places where you can get stuff. Like I said, straps. I really like the Barton straps. What's nice also, they are a quick release. So they're just a little spring-loaded tab right there. Very nice. As far as factory style parts, there's a website called marinom.com, and that is run actually by, I believe, Vostok employees. So there you can get all types of bezels, you can get crowns, dials, a whole assortment of spare parts for the movements, straps as well. So you can get all types of both factory and aftermarket parts for these, whether it's bezels, crowns, the case backs, things like that. The second hands on this watch, this came from a Polish company called 1 Second Closer. And they have all different styles of these hands, and second hands as well as minute and hour. Different styles, different colors. Very well made. I am actually waiting on some more hands from them, as well as a bezel that will go on to this watch. So this watch, I'm just waiting on some parts, but there's also, if you just Google Vostok watch parts, things like that, you'll find several companies that make dials, hands, bezels, things like that. I believe you can even make some Seiko bezels fit onto these. So the array of parts is pretty vast. So you can build stuff that's really, really cool, very, very unique. And the best part is under a couple $100, and it's something that nobody else has. You'll have a completely unique watch to yourself. So I think that's kind of cool. But anyway, that's it. I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. Don't be afraid of modding these watches. In worst case scenarios, if you break something in the movement, you're just out the cost of the movement. And I believe you can get a replacement movement for like $50, which is almost the cost of a new watch. So it might be worth just buying a new watch. That's up to you. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them. I will answer them as best as I can. And that's it. Everyone enjoy.